Hello and welcome to Lockdown Economy Nepal, a local edition of a social nonprofit initiative to help small businesses and self-employed professionals overcome the challenges of the pandemic. In Nepal, it is being done in collaboration with NYEF Kathmandu Chapter, a membership-based nonprofit organization dedicated to create outstanding entrepreneurs, and AlterContacts, a global think tank for sustainable development based in Amsterdam. My name is Suzan Lal Manandar, host of the interview series, and I'd like to welcome everyone who joined us for this session. Today, my guest is Sanim Dhakal, who is the founder and CEO of Braj Beauty. Hello, Sanim ji, how are you?
Hi, Sujanji. I'm doing perfectly fine. How have you been? And thank you very much for having me today with NYEF this session. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'm doing well as well, and welcome to the interview series. Today, we're going to talk about an organization you started right before Nepal went into lockdown. So it is going to be a very interesting lockdown economy discussion. But before we get into it, let's get started with the introduction of your organization, Sanimji. So please tell us about Braj Beauty.
Perfect. So Braj Beauty, as you rightly pointed out, it basically started right before Nepal went under lockdown. And basically, we officially launched ourselves on the 17th of February 2020. So Braj Beauty, as a part of introduction, it's basically a premium home salon service, which is basically on an online platform. So basically, yeah, that's how it is as a very basic introduction. So the whole idea is where beauticians normally go for the customers at their home, at their doorstep, and they basically cater all the beauty services at the comfort of one's own home. Yeah.
And the last time we had a conversation, you had something very interesting to talk about your team. So could you please tell our viewers about that?
Oh yes. So basically, apart from the fact that we are a online service home salon service providers, the best part about our business is also the fact that in the team it's only me as a male running the show. So all like other 14 members in the team are all females. So definitely our main primary objective is the catering beauty services at doorstep. But having said that, we have definitely aligned our vision in terms of empowering women. So yeah, so it's a team basically where I'm just leading the team, but all the team members are female in our organization, which is something that I'm really proud about.
And Sanimji, who are your major clients?
So as of now, our major clients, I'd say, are basically the those category of people who normally refer or term themselves as the early adopters. When I'm trying to say early adopters, it's basically that niche kind of society who basically are up for trying up new things, whatever is out in the market. Like saloon concept, that too, where you can order beautician through app. All right, so for a lot of customers, it's a really new thing that's come up in the Nepalese market scenario. And there are like a lot of people who they are kind of people who just, if there's something that they've heard about and they just want to try. So those are the kind of people I'm referring to as early adopters or experiential categories of people. So number one are those, definitely, yes. The other intended audience, or the audiences that we've been getting, or as of our target audiences, are the ones who are basically located in the, I wouldn't say in the core city, but in the outskirts of the core city, like, for example, Buranilkanta, or like, places like Thankot, and also places like Sanutimi. So these are basically a bunch of people who definitely would want to upgrade themselves as far as grooming and beauty services are concerned. But having said that, from places like Buranilkanta, you go into core city hub like Lajimpat, Darbarmark, there's a lot of time and money involved with both, right? For people like them, I think we've basically been a really good service facilitator, because because that's also because like we are not charging any kind of delivery charge or whatever, even if it's like within the vicinity of 3 kilometer, or even if it's a vicinity of 23 kilometer, we are charging no delivery charge as such. So I think these two are our main clients for now, I'd say.
Perfect. And now let's talk about the lockdown. The lockdown in Nepal was very strict. We went through two lockdowns. And talking about your organization, it's an online saloon service. And when we talk about the pandemic, it made people practice social distancing, and the lockdown restricted the movement of people from one place to another. But then when it comes to your organization, there is personal contact as well, and your employees have to travel from one place to another. So, what kind of problems did the lockdown bring in your business?
Definitely, as you rightly pointed out, we definitely walked a very crucial time on that particular span of the lockdown, and which we're still facing to some extent as of now. But I would say it was from the mid of March. It was from the mid of March until the end of April. We had our business completely shut. That's just not because the situation was not allowing, but it's also because like we ourselves were more concerned about our employees as well. So that was one setback. But having said that, after getting a positive kind of demand from the customers, and also a very supportive role from my employees. So I thought like rather it's a time where we need to fit into the situation, modify our business ways, and definitely go forward and basically continue catering to our services. So as the time demanded, we basically all our beauticians were equipped with the disposable PPE safety equipments. Not only our beauticians, but we had a provision where we would take a disposable mask, a disposable gloves, and disposable towels, disposable bed sheet, and all these things for our customers as well, just because the safety of customers mattered the most at that point of time, and is still mattering till date. So yeah, those were a few reforms that we made, and we have been able to push the business as of now really well.
Fantastic. And you've already given me a few insights about the strategies you adopted. So, were there anything else that you tried to stimulate your business during the lockdown?
Well, we did, and honestly, if I have to give a really honest take on that, I would say that did not work out really well, because I'm pretty sure, Susanji, you might be familiar when there were like a lot of regulations being put on like online service providers at that point of time. Where, if you'd remember, one regulation was like you cannot make any deliveries post 9 a.m. and sometimes post 10 a.m. So basically, while trying to fit into that particular restriction, so we made a provision where we'll be starting our services right from the 5 a.m. in the morning, and like by 10 a.m. just making sure that all my beauticians reach back to their homes safely. But at the end of the day, that definitely did not go well, because from customers' end, that was not a supportive practice, because people were definitely not willing to wake up 6 a.m. in the morning and get their facials done. So basically, that was an attempt being made, but I would say we failed miserably on that. Yeah, we practiced that for 7 days, and then we later gave up.
So now let's talk more about your clients. So this is a very new service in the market, and when you introduced it, and then of course the lockdown happens, what kind of interactions did you have with your clients, and how did you convince them to use your service?
Well, see, concerns related to COVID was something that we were definitely expecting, because at that point of time, the safety in regards to COVID was a prior concern for everyone, right? So that being the case, whenever our customer service would attend any call, or if there was any online orders made via app, in the special instruction box, there was always a question are these beauticians COVID safe, or what are the safety precautions you're gonna take? And even in the phone calls, the most prior concern was if there is any kind of contact tracing related to our beauticians or anything of that sort. But we will definitely have to give it up to our team as well, in terms of how they definitely had to go to different customers at their doorsteps, and still they managed to keep themselves safe. They definitely aligned to all the safety guidelines that was being put out by the government, and definitely from our companies as well. But definitely the most prior concern was the safety from all our customers. And I'd be very proud in saying that all of my team basically made up to it. And at the end of the day, we are definitely, till date, we are basically known as service providers, online service providers, but still keeping in mind the COVID safety precautions.
Great. So now let's talk about your competitors. How did they react during the lockdown, and how were your strategies different from them?
All right, this is going to be a little bit interesting. Interesting in the sense because when you talk about competitors, because I believe, as of my knowledge is concerned, I believe we are the first and the only home saloon service providers, right? So in that case, the whole beauty salon or the beauty parlor industry becomes our competitors because we are not fighting with another home salon service provider, but we are basically fighting with the whole concept of the beauty saloon. So in that regards, I would say the whole entire industry is at the moment acting as our competitors. And definitely they did act in a way which was least expected, but definitely which basically did help in catering to customers' needs. So that's something I'm happy about, where very famous and very renowned beauty parlors, even they started going to the doorsteps and they started to cater services at the doorstep of their customers. And basically, when I got more detail into it, I got to know it basically they were just catering the services to those customers who are normally their regular or premium customers. And if you'd ask me how, so that was their reaction, right? Now, if you'd ask me how was the reaction different from the approach that we had been delivering since past few months, so number one, there was delivery charge involved in their service offering. The other thing was the fact, the service charge, of the beauty services being done were a little bit expensive than ours. But an hour at the other end was cheaper, and there was no delivery service charges. So that made us still a genuine business in the market at that point of time as well.
Perfect. So now let's talk about the time after lockdown. We've been pretty much open since September. So how is your business performing at this time?
Well, in that regards, you're definitely right. We can definitely term this time as a post-lockdown period. But again, having said that, I do not think that people have completely forgotten the after the COVID, and how the COVID has definitely not left the community or the society. So in that regards, it's still a very fearful thought for a lot of people to basically invite someone who is completely stranger to them to their doorstep, to their bedroom, and get their beauty services done. Because what I'd say is because when for example, if two of our beauticians goes into someone's doorstep, it's basically not only that one woman or customer who is going to be exposed to potential threat, but I would say it's also her families, her kids, and another people associated with her who from customers' point of view are at potential risk. But again, as I've said, from our side, we've made all guidelines very clear, and we are very super strict on this particular guidelines that all our beauticians will have to have a COVID safe, will have to maintain a COVID safe guidelines. The PPE, the safety gears has to be maintained, and there has to be a temperature check before and after the services. And also one very prime initiative that we've taken is the fact that each beautician will just cater 2 to 3 services per week. So that's because just to decrease the number of exposure for that particular beautician, and that's helped us tremendously. That's definitely helped us tremendously.
Those are some very important points you just mentioned. Yes, the world has moved to digital platform, but it is still the responsibility of these organizations to take safety precautions and ensure that their employees and their customers both are safe when the service is being provided. Now, let's talk about what is the outlook for Braj Beauty for the next 3 months. So where do you think your organization will be at the end of the first quarter of 2021?
Okay, so all right. So basically, what I'd say is lockdown or the COVID had acted as a downfall for a lot of businesses, right? And it was definitely the same kind of aspect for us as well until the end of April. But after that, after I got a positive demand response from the customer side and positive motivation from my employee side, and the way we basically aggressively took this Braj Beauty business, and despite the fact that there was COVID still in existence, we basically made an amazing effort to basically fight back with all the challenges and go and cater the services. Because of this, I think because it was for around 2 to 3 months that we were the only service providers in terms of beauty service providers in Kathmandu. We were the only ones, because all the beauty salon services were closed at that point of time. So that definitely helped us reach a new customer level. All right, we definitely did acquire new customers at that point of time. I would say we acquired, as of like, for example, if we serve somewhere around 2,500 customers as of today, out of which 60% customers, I would say, are the ones who were acquired during the lockdown time. So that being the case, I think the lockdown, after this post-lockdown and after things have started easing after the lockdown, and which is yet to be eased after the lockdown, I think we are definitely, we have made very clear about existence. I think we've made it very loud and clear that, you know, there is something in Nepal, in Kathmandu, actually, in the valley. It's called Braj Beauty, which is catering a premium home salon service where you can basically make appointments through app. All right. So I think our existence has been really loud and clear. Now the next step, all right. So as the lockdown and the situation eases, the next step is basically to scale up the business. Scale up the business in the sense, acquire as much as new customers possible, to increase the number of app downloads, to have more and more number of services on board, and to have more and more number of beauticians on board, starting right from 2021.
That is fantastic, and you have presented a very incredible statistic over there. I'm really happy to hear that you were able to progress your business even during the lockdown period. So, Sanimji, this is my final question to you now. What are the 3 things in your business that you need help with?
Well, all right. So I think this is a really nice thing you've brought up, and I'd really be happy to answer this. So I think, like, you know, the 3 very things that comes into mind immediately is the fact, the number one I would say is the mindset. All right. I would really appreciate if there would be a welcoming mindset. A welcoming mindset, meaning, like, you know, in Nepal, like there's still a kind of what do you call, a belief that until you touch it, until you feel it, until you see it, you do not believe the product and services, right? Which is definitely not as how it works in the other part of the world, right? So basically, a welcoming mindset, meaning a mindset amongst people, or amongst our customers, or amongst our audiences, where people are more welcoming towards the online offering made by startups. Because if you see, like you know, a lot of proportion of startups have basically delivered their services in online platform, right? And when it is online, it's very hard to, you know, dig down deep inside in some categories of customers. So I think a welcoming mindset, meaning, like, you know, if you could welcome the idea of which is delivered through online platform, and even through online platform, whatever is delivered or offered, you can believe on it, you can trust on it, you can rely upon it. All right. So that would be a welcoming mindset, is number one, I'd say. Number 2 is the fact, like, you know, Nepal is in the prime stage where a lot of startups are basically nurturing. They're just coming up, and, you know, they are under developing, and like, you know, few startups have basically done tremendously well as well. So what I see missing in this startup ecosystem is the fact, a little bit of maybe cooperation, I would say, because, like, you know, the plan is to co-create, right? And even in the third part, like in different part of the world, you can see, like, a lot of bigger companies coming together and co-creating stuff, right? But here, because I think that's also because everyone is basically fighting for existence, and to, like, you know, and to sustain a little bit more than the other. So that's one reason, a little bit of cooperativeness among the startups with one another is something that I feel missing at this point of time. So that's number 2. So number 2, I would say, is a cooperative ecosystem of startups, all right, where they would coordinate and take help from each other. That's number 2. Number 3 is the fact, I would say, like, you know, at the present time, I think social media is really good platform to basically showcase what you're offering and what you're catering to your target customers, right? So in that regard, so basically in terms of creating contents for social media, so your marketing budget sometimes, like, it basically levels way higher than what you'd expected, right? Like, for example, in different, like governments made a little bit of slab provisioning in terms of tax reforms and in terms of registration reforms. In the similar way, it would be, I think, great initiative, like if private agencies like media agencies, marketing agencies, and advertising agencies, and the influencers come into community, all right, if they would consider the fact that this certain group of businesses are are in the startup level, and and if there would be any considerable amount of discounts or different provision where, like, for startups there would be a little bit more or less service charge in the process of taking few marketing services, like in terms of video production, in terms of television commercials, or in terms of any kind of media creation and floating it into the social media. I think it's reached a point where, like, most of the startup cannot even afford that particular cost. So I would say these three aspects to revise: welcoming mindset, number one; number two, a very well comprehensive cooperative ecosystem amongst the startup; number three, a really considerate amount when it comes to marketing costs for the startups. So these three things would be the one that I'd be requiring more help on.
Great. Those are some very important points that you have brought, and I hope that this interview itself is helpful to you to get the word out and accomplish these things. And thank you, Sanimji, for coming on this interview series and sharing us your insights.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Susanji. I really appreciate the fact that I'd been part of it, and I really again would want to thank NYVF Kathmandu chapter for giving this opportunity out.
And before we sign off, would you like to say anything to our viewers?
Well, yeah, I'd be very happy to say the fact, like, so basically, I just wanted to give a small, I just wanted to spot on the small point of the brain drain, how it's basically a lot of youths, like, going abroad and not coming back to the fact. So basically, I was a part of it as well. So I went to Australia for a few years, and then, like, basically there was something that kicked in me. Like, I just wanted to come back, like, contribute into the ecosystem of the startup in Nepal, and basically wanted to, like, do something new as what I'd seen abroad, right? So basically, it would be a great country. It would be a great land. It would be a great home place where, like, all the amazing talents from all around the world, who would basically call themselves as Nepalese, would come together and create, and in fact, I would say co-create something better for the community, for the society, for the country, and actually for the world. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thank you, Sanimji. That's a very wonderful message. And thank you again for coming on this interview series and sharing us your insights. And thank you to everyone who joined us for this session. If you have any questions for Sanimji, you can find his contact in the description, or you can leave a comment in this video. I invite you to like this video, share with your friends, and follow our page, the NYF Kathmandu Chapter Facebook page. A recording of this video will be present in the AlterContacts YouTube channel, so please subscribe to our channel. There are playlists of videos where entrepreneurs and small business owners from different parts of the world have shared us their insights. We'll have many more interviews like this in the upcoming weeks. Stay tuned, and goodbye.